Welcome to the Conduit Deeper podcast, a podcast that takes a deep dive into the details that surround our current sermon series, from current events to fascinating finds to conversations that take us deeper into the Word. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome to the Deeper Podcast. My name is Mo, Executive Pastor at Conduit Church, joined with our lead pastor, Darren Tyler, and a special guest. And before we reveal that special guest, we have a little trivia here, Darren.
Yeah, this is Conduit trivia. The Conduit lore, there's lots of creatives in our church.
Conduit lore, I like that.
Lots of people that have done things, but the trivia question is, which member of Conduit wrote a book called Christmas Shoes that was a bestseller that was turned into a made-for-TV Christmas movie starring Rob Lowe?
Rob Lowe's not the guest.
This is a fact. Rob's not the guest. This is 100% fact. So, send your questions, your answers, drop them in the comment, whatever. No, the answer is Donna VanLiere, which I would be willing to bet that most of our church don't even know that.
Pretty awesome.
Right?
Why would they? Why would they want to know that?
Well, because Christmas Shoes was a juggernaut.
Yeah, it was a juggernaut, and I'll bet my left arm that half of at least the women in our church have seen the show because was it on Hallmark?
CBS.
CBS. Mm-hmm. So Hallmark stole that from CBS, the Christmas idea, but
yeah,
right. Which is, we're here to talk about your Christmas book because it's Christmas, but I've never asked you this. How in that world did that happen? So I knew you wrote the book. Mm-hmm. Troy was working with New Song, and you guys were in that, and how did CBS decide to take this song from New Song and turn it into a movie?
Well, actually, we were backstage at a New Song concert in July, so it's sweltering hot. And Eddie Carswell, who's the leader, one of the main songwriters of New Song, he said, "Hey, Donna, I'm thinking about writing a Christmas song." He gave me a 2-sentence premise. He said, "What do you think? Do you think that'd make a good song?" And I said, "Well, Eddie, I actually think that'd make a good book." And just kind of tongue-in-cheek, he said, "Well, get to writing it. You're the one with the computer." And actually, before the song was even written, I already on the way back from Knoxville, I was already seeing a plot line in my head and characters. And so I was well into writing it before they actually wrote the song.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is actually fascinating to me because I thought that the song had already been written, had already been a smash hit.
No.
And then you wrote the book.
So Interesting.
Right? Did you know that?
No. I didn't know that was the order of events.
Okay, so what year would that have been?
That was back in 2000, I believe that was. So I wrote the book. We sent it off to a literary agency, and she picked it up, and then she sent it off to production companies in LA, and a woman with a production company took it to lunch. It was in galley form. It wasn't even a book at that point. And she took it to lunch, and she, under the premise of she would eat her lunch and then go back to work, but she stayed there the rest of the day, and she read the book. And then she went back to work to her working partner, and she said, "I just found the next movie we're going to make."
Wow, because that's quick. Between the time you wrote the book and the song in around 2000, the movie released in 2002. So that's a pretty quick turn.
Right, yeah. So the book wasn't even on shelves. It wasn't even printed at that point.
I had literally, this is history for me because I joke about it, but the older I get, the more vividly I remember things that never happened. I thought that the song was a smash hit, which, by the way, this is how this normally would have gone. Song's a smash hit, and somebody thinks, "Hey, we should monetize this. We should write a book."
Right.
And then there's a devotional, whatever. But the book, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
The book happened. So did Eddie then feel, "Oh, golly, I got to write the song now," or was he already writing the song by this point?
No, he was already writing the song, because I think it was in January of 2000. It was like January 1st of 2000 that the song went number 1 on Billboard. It came out December 99 and went number 1 January 2000. But obviously when the production company knew there was a song called The Christmas Shoes as well, they said, "Oh, let's hear it." And so they heard it, and they said, "Oh, let's put it in put it in the movie.
What?
So put
This
it
is
in the
amazing
movie.
to me.
Yeah.
It's so backwards.
Yeah.
So
When I think of that song, I think two things. One, I hated it because it made me cry. Because I'm a dude and I'm not supposed to.
you're supposed to feel anything.
You're not supposed to feel
Right,
anything,
right.
let alone about a song
it
that
down.
Eddie Carswell wrote. Like that, no disrespect to Eddie, but I was managing butt rock bands. Like I wasn't supposed to be crying to Christmas shoe songs, but it literally this became like an iconic. So this is a little history lesson if you're new to Christianity, or if you are Ethan and Micah who were not born.
Ethan and Micah, who are sitting here on their cell phones.
Yeah, they're probably
looking up.
Googling right now.
Right.
Little research.
Who are these
I'm
names
sorry,
that they're talking about?
ChatGPT. Yeah, my son made fun of me because I said I Googled something. Google when you're like 100 years old. So that was wow.
Did you get to pick the cast? Were you in
Oh,
part of
no.
any part of the casting or
No,
like any part of
absolutely
the
not. No.
the movie scenario, anything like that?
No.
Do you know where Rob Lowe's from?
Oh, we
He's
got
from Ohio.
more trivia.
It's from Ohio because I'm from
You're
Ohio.
from Ohio.
So I know that.
I'm from Ohio. Rob Lowe is from Ohio, specifically
Dayton.
Dayton, Ohio.
What?
My hometown.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I talked about being from Ohio with him while there. We
I
talked
bet.
Ohio, yes.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah, he grew up literally 2 miles from where I grew up, down the road.
But you were northern. Wait, what? Was it northern Ohio where you were from?
Yes, I'm from Medina, which is 35 miles south of Cleveland.
Right. Yeah. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
So not Dayton, but Ohio is. I am mystified by Ohio because first of all, my least favorite place to tour.
It's not great.
No, it's not. And by the way, Ohio, I learned in my touring days. Fun fact: you never book tour dates in Ohio in March
Because it's still,
because you'll get a blizzard.
yeah, exactly. Yes.
I mean, so I learned so don't do it. And when I was routing tours out, I would be looking at, okay, we're definitely not doing it in Ohio. We'll do that in April. We'll go someplace else. But
Well,
yeah,
April, it's cold too.
it's cold.
Cold, but there's no more blizzards.
Yeah, I never got any blizzards there. I mean, we had
Yeah.
blizzards. I mean, I remember there's a Cutlass show, Firefly was on this, I think.
Probably.
Wait, was it your bus that broke down?
All the time.
But was it Family Force 5 that picked your band up? Because your band, oh, that's funny. I'm sorry.
We all stepped into a van.
So, yeah, it was Cutlass, Family Force 5, Firefly. I don't remember who the other, so God forgive me if you're watching right now and I don't remember who was on that tour. But I remember we needed Firefly there. Your bus broke down. And now I'm not so sure this is Ohio, but I think it was Ohio. And yeah, the Family Force 5 guys who were crazy were actually they're very kind as well. They 100% volunteered to go pick up the band.
Southern hospitality.
Mm.
Southern gentlemen.
But Ohio. Oh, something going on in Ohio. We got J.D. Vance from Ohio.
Also from my hometown.
Is Cash Patel from Ohio?
I don't think
I don't
so.
think so, but Vivek is.
Vivek. Oh,
Yeah.
Vivek. That's right. I got the wrong Indian.
But I'll give you one more weird thing about Christmas Shoes movie. Okay? Because there's a woman who dies in the Christmas Shoes.
Yes.
And in the script that they sent me,
Spoiler alert.
she becomes an angel. You know,
In the Christmas
because
yeah.
you know when people die, they become angels.
Yeah, it definitely makes a better movie.
You're right.
It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought, what in the world? Because it's got my name on it, and this woman is totally opposite of what we as Christians know.
Right. And Donna, by the way,
as
as
truth.
you've been around, very, very theologically sound, biblically sound. So this would have punched you right in the theology gut. Right?
Oh, I was like, what am I going to do? What do I do? So I actually had to have a meeting with the producers. I said, can I please talk to you about this?
Of course you did.
And so, I mean, it was the weirdest conversation I've ever had because just nothing registered. Like, of course people die and they become angels.
Yeah, if you get your wings.
And I said, well, no, actually, angels are created beings. They were created by God. Death doesn't generate into angelic figures. So it was the strangest conversation, but they rewrote it, which I was very glad about.
That's first of all, it's hilarious to me. Because this is just you. It's one of the things I've always appreciated about you is and it's becoming a very more and more rare, like a commitment to biblical theology, but you're a brand new author. Mm-hmm. And you're sitting in I don't know, I'm trying to think if I know an author that would have had the courage to, brand new author, could have blown the whole thing, to sit down with the producer of a movie and say, no, this is wrong.
Right.
This is wrong. You got this all wrong. You got to change it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I had other conversations with them about other movies in the future, but, some of those conversations didn't go as well.
Well, nothing but respect. So that turns, it was 25 years later, you just released this book about Christmas.
Yeah.
Which it's funny to me because everybody knows the Christmas story. Most people in the world know it. They know versions of it that are probably incorrect or whatever. But did it feel pretty daunting to try to write a Christmas book with a fresh perspective that wouldn't just feel? And by the way, it does not feel like any other. We bought a bunch of copies. We're giving them away. It's so good. And Donna didn't ask me to say this, but if you're looking for a gift for Christmas, especially for your family that may not know Jesus, like, you just baked the gospel into it. But did it feel daunting to, hey, let's do a Christmas book?
Wow. Now that you say that, it seems like it should have, but it actually, it didn't. It didn't dawn on me that it was going to be daunting, because I just wanted to look at all the people and the places involved, and I wanted to take people there, because I firmly believe that even many people sitting here in Conduit don't know Jesus or not walking in relationship with Jesus.
Right.
Let alone the unbelievers that are out there who don't know him. And so I wanted to write the book and take people directly to the salvation message at the end of it.
And you did, yeah.
Yeah.
You landed that plane.
Yeah, because Jesus said he came to seek and save the lost. He was about his Father's business. What was his Father's business? To come and to seek and save the lost. So that's what I wanted to do in the book, and just really, again, just bring all these people to life and bring the places to life.
I like that you started out with the Charlie Brown story. Mm-hmm. It's my wife's absolute favorite.
Oh, I know. Mine too.
When's the last time you watched Charlie Brown Christmas, Darren? Have you ever watched Charlie Brown Christmas?
Well, no, I did every year in growing up, because
you need to watch it.
Well, we had like 10 channels, and we thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
But every year, Charlie Brown, and by the way, I was a huge Charlie Brown fan. Loved Snoopy, the books, the whole thing. And funny enough, my son, so I don't know if this is genetic or not, Ethan, but he's got like the Snoopy stuff. Snoopy is like, anyway. But so as a father, Ethan, I would like to formally apologize to you for not having watched a Charlie Brown Christmas with you.
Yes.
So I've ruined your childhood. So guess what we're doing at Christmas? We're not playing Uno. We're playing.
You got to watch it every year.
Yeah, I know we usually dial it up once a year. We'll probably dial it up tonight. Mm-hmm. But I love how you started it off with, Linus, the character, right? There he's like, okay, in his childlike way, like, all this Christmas stuff is happening, but I don't feel like Christmas.
Yeah. Charlie Brown says that something doesn't feel right. Right.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people can probably relate to that, right? Obviously we just come off of Thanksgiving. We've celebrated Thanksgiving. We gave it its proper due. I'm all in on Christmas now, in the proper order, right?
Yeah. Most commitment to Thanksgiving is much like his commitment to spreadsheets. Everything is in order.
There's columns and rows for a reason.
There's a process and a system, and we follow the system. And by the way, it works really well. The finances of our church are amazing because we follow the order. And Christmas, the church, I felt like we almost had a church split this year.
No. We're just having fun.
Yeah.
But we're all in on Christmas. We're all in on Christmas. I'm all in on Christmas. But I think the analogy and the story works, and I'm glad you kind of started the book off that way, because I think a lot of people can feel that they don't feel the Christmas spirit,
right?
For all kinds of reasons in their lives, in their personal lives, their story, their path that they're on, the season that they're in. What made you kind of choose that as your launching pad for this book?
Well, I think, again, just because of what he says, he's like, something doesn't feel right. I know I'm supposed to feel this way, but I don't. It just doesn't feel right. And I think it's because, God has set eternity in our hearts, and there's that aching deep inside everybody, and they're searching. They're searching for God. They may not know that they are, but they are. And you're going to fill up that place. You're going to fill it up with power, with fame, success, with work, men, women, whatever. You're going to fill it up with something. Gaming, phones. I mean, think about how many addictions are out there. So you're going to fill up that place in your heart, even though you're actually looking. You're looking for that Christ child. That's what you're hoping for. It's what you're longing for. So I really wanted to start the book there and to say that Christmas is for everybody. It's for the girl who's out on the street, and it's for her dad. It's for her dad who drove her away. It's for everybody who's out there seeking.
Yeah, just that hope. I think ultimately, right? It's
Yep.
like the hope of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
What is the feeling of Christmas? I mean, I got to see a little glimpse of that through my 3-year-old grandson this weekend. We went and saw a bunch of Christmas lights, like the biggest Christmas light display that I've ever been to. And so, anyways, his mind was blown, right? See all the Christmas lights and the hot cocoa and all the things, and it's just magical. So, like, what do you think that is innate in us, like that magical Christmas season thing that we all experience? Like, what's really at the root of that?
I think it's home. I think it's that sense of home and safety, love, wanting to feel that protection. Again, just that overwhelming sense of love. And even if you didn't have it, you want it. If you didn't grow up with that, that's what you want. And Christmas really brings that out in people. And you have to think that it's because love came down at Christmas. The Bible says love comes from the Father. Love came down at Christmas. There's a song, right? Love came down at Christmas,
that
I think.
sounds very familiar.
Yeah, so that's what people are looking for. That it's just that sense of home, sense of belonging, that sense of being loved. That's what Christmas is.
And in the world that, Western world especially, I'm so blessed that I get to travel to other places that haven't necessarily commercialized Christmas like in the West as much. And they seem to understand it in a deep way of what you just said. So I grew up, I joke about it, but it was honestly, I had a love-hate relationship with Christmas because we were looking for Christmas presents at Christmas. And we would, my least favorite time of year was coming back from Christmas break and everybody's saying, "Hey, what'd you get for Christmas? What'd you get for Christmas?"
Back to school.
Yeah.
Classmates.
Right? Yeah. And so, one of the things I remember was that when the Sony Walkman came out, and all my buddies, were getting Sony Walkmans, and I got the Sanyo one. We were if it was whatever name brand of anything was, if we were going to get anything at all, we were never going to get the nice one. We were getting the cheap one.
Right. You weren't getting the Nike swoosh.
No, we were getting Pro Wings from Payless.
Heck yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's so funny because that actually reminds me. I remember in January, I was probably, 14 years old coming back. And I think Reebok, I don't remember. There was some brand that had just come out, and a bunch of the kids, bankers' kids, and rich farmers' kids. And I'm
Reebok pumps.
That might have been it.
The pumps. You had the pump on the tongue that would pump
maybe that
air
was
into it to tighten them up.
Yeah, so I show
Those
up
were
in
awesome.
January with my Pro Wings from Payless, and
Oh boy.
and they would fall apart by February, start just falling apart. But we didn't really grasp that in the ultimate gift. The reason we exchange gifts at all, right? Is the gift of God, right? Of Christ coming at the appointed time. But something that I think you did really well in the book was you bring out how everybody was so ordinary. You know, I actually got a little, I actually got misty-eyed again. That means this is the second time Donna's made me cry. Misty-eyed because the people in the story were ordinary people. Mary, very, very ordinary. Joseph, way ordinary. Like nobody would have looked around Israel thinking, I bet Messiah is going to come through that, through them. Like if you'd have lined up every Jew alive, you know, Mary might have made the bottom 1,000, you know, of 10 or over 1,000,000. And as far as in the ordinary, like that's still it today. And you focused a lot on that in the God in the ordinary and in the ordinary of it. Unpack that a little bit, like the motivation of that and what message you're hoping that if the vast majority of people, it's obviously our entire political thing right now is about, you know, affordability, and we can't afford anything anymore. Everybody's sort of struggling financially, and so there's just a lot of ordinary. But what was the message you're hoping that someone could walk away with if you are ordinary, like Mary and Joseph?
Yeah, that God still uses ordinary in his extraordinary story. And this is an extraordinary story. It is the most extraordinary story of all, because there has been no other God who has left his throne to come down and to grow up among us. That's it. This is our story. It's the one and only story. The greatest story ever told is that Jesus left the majestic splendor of heaven to come down here to be among us. And again, he used the most ordinary people. I like the when you did the Looking for Christmas podcast with me that you went through, if had Mary been chosen, the town, all of that, and how it narrowed down, there would have only been maybe 2 girls in Nazareth at that time. But she had to come from that particular line, so that narrows it down even more. And so again, it's like just to see, in Scripture it says that at the right time, God sent his son to be born of a woman. And so everything had to be lined up, and he had to have all these people lined up. And he didn't line up celebrities. He didn't line up politicians. He lined up the most ordinary people of all to be part of this extraordinary story. And we know from archaeology, from records that have been kept, that women, that girls would be betrothed as early as 12.
Yeah.
So technically, Mary could have been 12. She could have been 13, 14. She was really young. And the fact that God chose her, she was the one. She was the one out of all of Israel that was chosen, this young girl. And we know that Joseph was chosen too. I mean, the Bible doesn't say that, but obviously he was the one that was chosen to be with her. And what's he? He's just a carpenter. He's just a guy who's out, you know, fixing somebody's cabinet, you know, hanging a door in somebody's house. You know, he was nothing special either, but he was special in God's plan. All these people were. Yeah. And it's so easy for us today to say, I come from a podunk town. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom left me, you know, when I was 5, and think that there's nothing extraordinary about your life, but God uses everybody.
So an ordinary girl from Ohio, right? Marries an ordinary guy. I actually don't know where Troy is from.
Upstate New York.
That makes sense, actually. To write this book that we talked about, Christmas Shoes, and now, you know, decades later, still doing extraordinary things through an ordinary mom, ordinary wife.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've thought of that many times. And I think about that for everybody, because we all have our thing that we can do. I mean, I can organize some words into sentences. You know, I can do that. I can't do electrician work. I can't do that. I can't do plumbing work. You know, there's a lot. I couldn't make clothes. There's plenty that I can't do, but I can organize some words into a sentence.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody has your thing. You can do your thing, and you just, you know, it reminds me of that story. Remember the widow? She kept pouring out the oil, and it just kept pouring out, even though she didn't have any. It just kept pouring out. It's like you pour out what you have.
Yeah.
Pour out what you've been given. Just keep pouring it out, and God will give the increase. And so I think that about everybody. And especially with all these people, when you think about everyone involved in this nativity story, Mary and Joseph, who were young. I don't buy into it that a lot of people say that, oh, Joseph was an old man when she married him. I don't buy that at all. I mean, that's gone around for so many years.
Yeah, zero evidence of that.
Right. They died young back then. He could have been late 30s. He could have been early 40s when he died. It was so easy to get infection, and you just die because there was no way to medicate that sort of thing. So they were young. Zechariah and Elizabeth, old. They were elderly. No hopes of having children, even though they'd been praying for decades. There was no hope of getting pregnant, but God came along, and of course they got pregnant. I love the fact that this young couple and this elderly couple, and God used them both in extraordinary ways.
Looking for Christmas through the eyes of all of these different characters in the Nativity story that you list in the book. First of all, have you ever been in a Nativity like play?
Oh, every Christmas, man.
What character?
Well, let me phrase that. Nativity play? No, I'm talking about the living Nativity. Did you guys do those?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Nazarene Church. We would stay, and it's Nebraska, so we'd just be freezing.
Were you like a wise man?
Yeah,
up?
And later realizing I was kind of got ripped off because the wise men weren't there yet. But we were.
It's true. It's not accurate.
But we needed people in the thing, so I got to be a wise man one year. I definitely got to be a shepherd.
Yep.
And then of course we lived in Nebraska, so there were plenty of farm animals. And then one year I was the guy in charge of shoveling.
Feels like a downgrade.
I was definitely not a promotion.
You didn't get promoted to Joseph.
It's not a lateral move in the company. No,
But like as you're studying this and you're listing these out, we know this story so well. Sometimes we know it too well that we forget some of the variables and the facets of the story. Was there any particular character listed that you saw differently this time? That just stuck out. It's like, you know what, there's a little bit more to this than I realized maybe growing up reading the story.
Yeah, for me, it was Joseph for sure. And I think it was because of what we kind of grow up with. He is kind of relegated to the back of the nativity set, true. He's just kind of hovering around back there. There's no songs about Joseph, he's just kind of there because Mary needed a husband. That's kind of the way it was. But actually, when I read the audio for the book, I got to a certain place and I actually teared up and my voice cracked. And the engineer said, okay, now you got to stop. You got to do that again. And I didn't do that anywhere else in the book. But it was just because I think he was such a good man. He was so solid. Again, he was chosen by God, obviously. He came from the line of David. It was his lineage that was so important in this story. But the fact that every single time he had a dream, that the angel came to him in a dream, and I think it's interesting that the angels visited all the other ones in person, but came to Joseph in a dream every time. There were 4 different dreams, but every time he got up and he did exactly what was required. It's not like he questioned it. Even Mary questioned. She would say, well, how can this be? I'm just a virgin. How am I going to get... He never questioned anything. He got up and he did exactly what he was instructed to do because he was the head of that household. He was protecting that child. He was keeping them safe. And he was a true leader in that home. We know that 2 of his boys became early church leaders. Jude and James, they're listed in Scripture. So we know he taught the Scripture to his kids. He was just a good man. He was a good, solid man. And he had to be because he knew taking this woman on who was pregnant out of wedlock wasn't his baby. He knew what could happen to her. And it wasn't roses for them for the rest of their lives. It was, they would have lived with scorn, people looking down their noses at them.
Yeah, and God would have known that about Joseph, right? Like I think that's an interesting take. Like God would have known that about Joseph, that he was a protector and that he was obedient. Like he was an obedient soul. Like I can trust Joseph with this, knowing how hard it's going to be. Like these next, decade, 2 decades of years are going to be hard. But to trust Joseph with that, like that's really special.
Yeah.
Something that is kind of jumping out at me now, that because obviously we're talking about God did something extraordinary through an ordinary person, you being one of those. And I would bet that there are people that would hear that and think, then my calling, I'm waiting for this extraordinary thing to happen in my life where I'm going to write the book, or I'm going to write the song, or whatever the dream is. Joseph would have gone to his grave not actually knowing the full breadth of.
That's right.
And what is kind of jumping in me is that maybe the extraordinary, if you're a mom, we have a lot of homeschool moms, we got a lot of dads that you might think that I'm not doing anything extraordinary, but what if what your extraordinary calling is to raise a family, right? It could, is that good enough for you, right? Is it good enough for you to say that that's my extraordinary role, that I'm not going to, I don't get to have the book, but I'm raising this young man, this young woman who may be the one that writes the book, or who maybe we just don't know the future of it. But that's part of where faith comes in, is that my definition of an extraordinary would, reach millions of people, sell hundreds of millions of books, whatever. But extraordinary is also, and mostly, the vast majority of us, our extraordinary goals will be, or extraordinary calling is to raise our families in the nurture, the admonition of the Lord. And which, by the way, in this culture especially, that's an extraordinary thing to have done. What would you say to those? Like, so you've written the books, you've had lots of success. We joke, Donna just shows up one day, I wrote a book. Like, well, when did you do that? Like, you haven't even mentioned it. When did you do that? But what would you say to the moms, to the dads, or a college kid right now that is thinking, my future, if I'm going to succeed, I have to have these very things, and so that I can then be extraordinary, do something extraordinary. But what if it is only, I'm just raising the next generation? And what is a message that the Christmas story could impart to them?
Well, I think it's that phrase, a long obedience in the same direction. You just have to obey. And I always think of ourselves, we just occupy this one little corner of the world. It's pretty small when you think about it. Even the most famous people here, they might be known in some other parts of the world, but they're not known everywhere. Everybody knows Jesus. May not be their first language, second language. Someone is telling them about Jesus. They're hearing about Jesus. So our job as ambassadors of Christ is to make him famous and to populate heaven. And what does that mean? Does that mean being obedient in your family and just teaching them and instructing them like Joseph did? Then yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. Just do what you're supposed to do in your own little corner of the world. I always think about that when it comes to volunteering or anything, because again, we all can't be volunteers. We each have our own little thing that we can do. We can't be a volunteer everywhere. Be like, no, I'd be terrible at that. So you volunteer, you keep your head down, you get your work done, and you just do what you're supposed to do. That's what I always think. That's why I try to tell my kids. It's like, no, just keep your head down, do your work, do what you're supposed to do. God is with us. Emmanuel means God is with us. So technically, hopefully that means that wherever we go, we have already made that place better. It's a better place because we're there, because God is with us. So if your thing is to write some sentences together, to put some words together, well, just keep your head down and do it. If you're supposed to be a carpenter, keep your head down, do your work. Let your work be a reflection of who Christ is in your life. And it's just that long obedience. in the same direction. Just keep moving forward with Jesus and what he's given you to do.
Now, I don't want to get too personal here, but it's been a kind of a hard year for you.
Yes.
And the loss of your mom. Mm-hmm. And, I know there's people listening that have had some really tough years, the past maybe few years, and maybe they're walking through a season right now of loss and grief. How does this Christmas shape up for you this year? That's maybe a little different than the previous.
Yeah, it is. I actually wrote an article. Christmas will be different this year. Because of that, and I know that's the case for a lot of people. They got an empty space at their table. There may be a separation that they hadn't anticipated. There's a lot goes on in life, and so it makes Christmas different. My mom loved to cook. That was her love language, was to cook. And so every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, until she just got, so elderly that she wasn't able to do it anymore. I mean, that was her thing. She loved to do that. And so I use a lot of her recipes in throughout the Christmas season. So I know that Christmas is very different for a lot of people, but there's still a Savior has been born. He is Christ the Lord. We still have reason to rejoice. We still have reason to celebrate. We can still connect with family. We can still celebrate, even though it's different. It's very different.
What's your favorite recipe that your mom made?
Oh gosh, that's so hard.
I mean, an Ohio woman's recipe book is something to covet.
Yeah, well, she's not an Ohio woman. She's an East Tennessee woman.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
East Tennessee.
That's actually better.
Yeah.
That went north.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were up there for, 60 years, I guess, or more. More than 60 years. No, she had so many great recipes.
Yeah.
Corn pudding, her stuffing. I loved her stuffing recipe. Yeah.
Awesome.
Wait, you guys made corn into pudding?
Well, it's not pudding. I don't know why it's called corn pudding. It's not even a corn casserole. It's just good.
Yeah.
Let's just chalk it up.
Well,
it's just really, really good.
I was just saying that because I grew up in Nebraska. We did a lot of stuff with corn. Like we even made scary movies about corn and Children of the Corn. But I've never had corn pudding.
Oh, it's good.
Huh.
It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that is, so my mom, she's been gone since 2008. Mm-hmm. And I remember that first Christmas, because she was sort of the glue that, all of her boys, she'd call, we'd come home and it's different, because I have my family now, that's my children. And one of the tricky things in the biblical ideology is that, when your kids get married, they don't necessarily join your family, they're starting a new family, right? But there's still that coming together of it. And, and you honored your mom so well. I want to say that to you. You guys have very busy lives. You're raising your own kids, your own business, your author, and you guys were just so good to your mama. You honored her so well, and and if I'm right about the great cloud of witnesses, she gets to still see, what and I'm getting to a point here, which is that's her extraordinary ordinariness. Was she raised Donna? She wouldn't have known that, when you trying to survive in Ohio, East Tennessee. I'm assuming growing up in East Tennessee for her, it was probably not the easiest life.
No, it wasn't at all. No.
Projecting, but yeah. And so somehow she, God chose her to raise Donna, and now your kids, David's, mission where the generations are continuing because an ordinary woman trusted an extraordinary God and raised an ordinary daughter that is now raising ordinary kids and do extraordinary things with it, and faithful too. I don't know if you got that from her or not. Something that's that I was thinking when you were talking about just being faithful. You guys, you've been on the coffee team. You talk about overqualified. But it's like, but there's a lot of people that don't. This is no shame on anybody, but people in a church family that they hear opportunities. We need this or we need that, and that's not for me. I don't like that. It's not. I don't get to preach or whatever it is. But you guys have just been so faithful. Like I've seen it for years now, and you serve with your kids with it, and God does bless that kind of faithfulness, the behind the scenes stuff. It doesn't mean that everybody that serves coffee is going to sell a lot of books, but it does mean that if that's what God asked you to do, you just said yes. And there's a real secret to that of just, right. Be it unto me, Lord. Be it unto me to make coffee on Sunday mornings.
Yeah. Well, that's like, I was talking about volunteering. I can't be on the security team. I don't think you'd want me on that team. Can't do that. But I can clean up. I've been doing that all my life. I can clean up. I can organize cups and that sort of thing and put on a pot of coffee. So that's what I'm saying. It's like find your thing that you can do and just keep your head down and do it. Just find a spot to plug in a church and just do it. And if the church doesn't have something, well, there's other things out in the community. Plug yourself in and just do the work. Just get it done. Because we're ambassadors of Christ. And speaking of coffee team, I was thinking about Mo just this morning driving over here. I'm like, I never see Mo ever, except on a Sunday morning, he'll be walking by in a blur of coffee and he'll wave. And I thought, you must not drink coffee because you never stop there.
I don't, actually. I do not drink coffee,
okay.
Never have.
You're the only one at Conduit that doesn't, because everybody else fills up many times.
My wife is a coffee connoisseur to the max. The whole coffee department, coffee team is kind of her thing. And I can't, and I don't appreciate it.
And here's how much she doesn't appreciate it. There was a stint where Jen was, doing a little extra income for the family, working at Starbucks.
Yeah.
And what a great waste.
A master barista. She'd bring home all of her fancy designs of different coffee types, and I just I don't know. Yeah,
it literally could have cared less. Yeah, and I'm over here going, hey, Shani, right. What do you think? You want to go work at Starbucks? Like the free coffee? No, not got none of that with it at all. But
one of the characters, so interesting in your book too, kind of start to round third head for home on this, but looking for Christmas through all these different characters, right? These different parts of the story that we're familiar with. But you mentioned one towards the end that's looking at the right time. Thought that was really interesting. Kind of share a little bit about that.
Yeah, Darren actually willingly came on the Looking for Christmas podcast, actually talked about that with me, which I appreciated so much. Yeah, at the right time, God sent his son to be born of a woman. At the right time, everything had to be in place. And when you think about and study it, everything that was the foundation of his coming, it's really incredible that the Roman Empire had built 250,000 miles of roads, which is incredible.
A lot.
I mean, had Jesus been born before that, he and Paul and all his disciples, they would not have been able to get the word out as quickly because they wouldn't have been able to traverse the land the way that they were able to because of those 250,000 miles of roads. And the fact that there was a common language. So people like missionaries like Paul and others, they didn't have to use an interpreter when they went to another country because that common language. And there was this era of peace because Rome would conquer groups, as they did a lot.
Often.
But they were like, okay, you're conquered now, but you can go ahead and you can worship the gods that you worship. You just pay us tax. They didn't force them to worship their gods, which was incredible, really. And Jesus was born during that, which meant that Christianity had an opportunity to spread. Again, it's all incredible because God had set the foundation for everything, and it was the right time. And I think, Darren, you and I even talked about it. There is a right time in everybody's life. We may not see it coming, and we may think, oh, I keep praying and praying and praying, and nothing's happening. Just like Zechariah and Elizabeth, how many decades did they pray? And then the angel came to him and said, God has heard your prayer. prayer. So all those prayers had risen up to God in just like it was one prayer. Yeah. All those prayers. God is doing something. We can't see it. Many times, you guys know I've dealt with a health issue for 13 years now. But every day I say, thank you, Lord, for healing me today. I may not be able to see it. I may not be able to feel it on some days. Some days it's really bad, but I say, thank you, Lord, for healing me today.
In process.
Yeah.
The timing, and by the way, those that are listening, how do they find the podcast? Because you interviewed quite a few people with this book. It's a great companion to the book. How do they find that?
It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. It's on YouTube.
What would they search for?
Either looking for Christmas or my name, Donna VanLiere. Yeah, you're on it. David and Helen Smallbone from Conduit or Conduit. As David Smallbone says.
Literally, they've been going to church for 5 years still can't say it right. I think he's doing it on purpose now.
Right.
No,
Helen says it right.
Helen's got it.
Right. But some other guests as well. But yeah, Darren talked about the right time and God's purpose, and it was really good. I so appreciated all of the guests on that. But I wanted to bring up one more thing, because this is our month. Christmas is our month. And I love the fact that we can go into stores and we hear Hark the Herald Angels Sing or Joy to the World. And you think, those are our songs. They're playing our songs in Publix or wherever we are. But it's so strange that we say Happy Thanksgiving, Happy Valentine's Day, Happy New Year, Happy Halloween. Then when it gets to Christmas, everybody out in the marketplace, Happy Holiday. Even it says Christmas on the calendar, and Christmas cards will say Happy Holiday, even though it's Christmas right there on the calendar. And it's just like Satan to twist that and keep us away from the birth of Christ. He has to do anything possible to keep us away from celebrating the birth of Christ.
You won't hear music in Target.
No
Christmas
music at all.
No, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the word Christ obviously is in Christ, Christmas. And Satan hates the gospel. Right. And to even bake that into the culture is, it's part of his, we don't want to be ignorant of his schemes. And it's, I've appreciated when our current president, was put in, we're bringing Christmas back. Like it's Christmas. Like there was something about that, even from the leader of the free world, to recognize that this isn't, we didn't just make this up out of hat. It was a holiday that we honor Christ, the Christ who has come to us. And I sometimes I feel like I'm a theological grumpy old man. If that ball comes over the fence one more time, it's mine, but it just grinds my axe when I hear sometimes even pastors, talking about, what are you doing during the holidays? Like, no, Christmas. We want to make sure that we honor him in that. And for all of us as families to just be reminded that, is it a holiday? I mean, that's why I guess in Britain, everything's a holiday. We don't call them even vacations. It's a holiday. But it is Christmas. It's Christmas. At the, and that time is coming. One of the things that, as I think through, and I guess I know we got to wrap up here, but is there a message in the book that if we didn't say it already, that you want to make sure that you get out to our church family? And by the way, weirdly enough, a lot of people listen to this podcast that they're from all over the country now. It's kind of fun. But for our church family, is there like a theme or a message? Like, if you don't get anything out of this book, anything else out of this book, is there a message? I at least want you to walk away with this.
Well, I think it was that Jesus came because he was about his Father's business. And what was that business? Jesus said it in Scripture. I came to seek and save the lost. That's why he came. That was his Father's business. I love that story when he was 12 and his family lost him going back home, and they ran back to Jerusalem. They found him in the temple. What was he doing? He was asking questions. He was sitting there listening. He was having a conversation with people in the temple. And Mary and Joseph were very upset. Obviously, it's been 3 days. They lost their kid. And he basically said, well, why are you so upset? Didn't you know I had to be about my Father's business? From the moment he came, he was about his Father's business, to seek and to save the lost. And he was still doing that on the cross. He was still about his Father's business. Father, forgive them. They know not what they're doing. He said, today you'll be with me in paradise. To the very end, he was all about his Father's business, which is what we're supposed to be about as well. We're supposed to be about the Father's business as ambassadors of Christ. We're supposed to be telling the good news of salvation in Jesus alone. And that's why he came. And again, that's why I included the salvation message, because I wanted people to be able to read the book if they didn't know who Jesus was. And it's so interesting because one of the reviews for this book from a review company, I won't say their name, but they actually said something along the lines of VanLiere and her belief that Jesus is the superior God. Yeah, it was superior God above all others was the exact word. Yeah, that's what we do believe.
Nailed it.
We do. Yes. You get an A+ for that. Yes, that's what we believe. Jesus is the superior God above all others. Yeah.
Thank you, Donna. Thanks for spending time.
You.
Thanks for writing this encouraging book that I know is going to impact so many. Where's the best place that they can buy the book, find the book?
Well, it's online, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. There's not a lot of brick and mortar stores anymore to get stuff. So anywhere online wherever you order books or can buy them.
Yeah. And I'll say it again, that if you've got somebody in your family, somebody in your world, and you're looking for a gift, a simple gift, this is not expensive. And you want to give a gift that actually keeps giving. Like, this book is great for that, because the salvation message is the Christmas message.
It is.
And this is very accessible. There's a lot of books like, I love Tim Keller's book on Christmas. But it's super heady. It's super, deep, and there's an audience for that. But the vast majority of the world, that's not, like, I think of my family in Nebraska, or I think of my neighbors, right? Like, they're not going to sit around, reading theological treatises on, and by the way, that was Jesus himself. Jesus, wasn't going, he taught very simply, right? He taught in parables, he taught in stories, because he wanted everybody to be able to understand it, to be able to grasp it, and to take it inside and to remember it. And so if you are looking for, I feel like I'm doing an infomercial. I really didn't mean to do this. But by the way, I don't do this with every book we've ever interviewed an author on, but I mean this not just because I love the VanLiere family. I do, but this is an accessible book. We ordered hundreds of copies to give away at the church, because the gospel in a very digestible, beautiful format matters. So on behalf of the amount of, I actually look forward to heaven someday, when we get to find out how many people did come to Christ because of this book. This is the kind of book that outlives an author, because the message outlived Christ resurrected, but it outlived everybody in the story. And I think this book could be one of those books that for years and years to come, you wrote it in such a way where it's timeless in that way. And so stocking stuffers, staff gifts, whatever, we're actually giving our staff gifts this year. I would highly encourage you guys to do that, to order lots of copies of it, because it's a great way to share. Let me phrase it. It's a great way to be about our Father's business. Yeah. You gave us a tool that a lot of us need. And so thank you for that. Thanks for, I've only written one book. and I've heard somebody say this once, I don't like writing, I like having written. I hate writing. It's like shoving a ham through your nose. I just can't get it out. But you did it. You put the work into it. And so, I'm praying, have prayed, I know our prayer team's praying, that the effort and the energy that you placed in it, and just trust in the Holy Spirit, that this message will last for decades to come.
Well done. Looking for Christmas is the name of the book. Again, you can find it on YouTube. There's the podcast that she referenced. You can find it on Amazon from Donna VanLiere. Thank you for joining us on this podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet here at YouTube, please go ahead and do that. Go ahead and click the like button, leave a comment, whether it's a Spotify or Apple or YouTube. It really does help get the word out. Thank you for joining us, and Merry Christmas.